Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Apple and Spotify podcasts, and rate us on Spotify and Apple podcasts.
The round of BP was really interesting as well. It's super clean swing with feel for the barrel, line drives, just an all-around solid two-way showing. And he's one that we, need to monitor really closely moving forward here.
All right, welcome back to episode 77 here of the Bullpen. Coming off a week of tournaments yet again. And then we had the Peoria Summer ID a couple weeks ago that we're going to be talking about today. Last week we had the South Suburban Summer ID that we'll be talking about today. And then yesterday, we're recording Wednesday morning. Yesterday on Tuesday, we had the St. Louis Summer ID and the West Suburban Summer ID, as well as some Rising Stars players mixed into those events as well. But we'll probably hold off on talking about those. But how you guys doing? Coming off a busy weekend, I'm sure up there. Where were you at, Ham, at the Rock this weekend?
We were in two locations, actually. We were at the Rock for the Big Row, which was awesome. And then we were in Rantoul for an Illinois Open. So I was up in the Rock, but it looked like Rantoul, like pound for pound, had some good players. Like Traxton Roberts was running around there throwing 95 that we'll talk about later. But yeah, I mean, we can talk about the tournaments a little bit more later. But yeah, I was up at the Big Row, and it was a fun weekend for sure.
All right, yeah, and then last week we also released our Prep Baseball Illinois All-State teams. First team was on Wednesday, second team was on Thursday, and third team was on Friday. So do you guys have anything you want to touch on with those, just off the cuff?
I think for me to start was just how loaded each team is. I mean, there's big names on each team. There's guys that are going to get draft looks on each team, which is crazy to think, like a third team All-State guy getting draft love. No, it just kind of tells you how stacked the talent was in the state this year, and as it has been the last few years, at least since I've moved out here. I think that's kind of been one of my most overwhelming takeaways, is the amount of talent in this state all across the state. Like, it's not just in one pocket of the state. Like, you go down to Southern Illinois, there's a ton of talent down there. Central Illinois, Gav, where you come from, like, there's a bunch of talent everywhere in the state, and like all of these teams were loaded. And I know we touched on it last week, but like, it's really hard to do. We're trying to get the most accurate, up-to-date stats, end-of-year stats, especially these teams that go on runs. Like, it's really hard to get those final numbers. But it's really hard to do. But to me, that was my biggest takeaway, is like the names that you're going to find on second team, that you're going to find on third team. And like, off name value, you probably think, oh, they're a first team guy. And it's like, well, look at how loaded the first team was and the numbers those guys put up. So I think that was my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, just the numbers are insane from top to bottom. It's like, it was, you're looking at someone, you're like, wow, this kid's probably going to be like a, first or second teamer. And then you're like, well, actually, maybe not. Like, these other guys are absolutely insane as well. So it makes it tough trying to get, the right guys in there. But, we do the best we can. And yeah, I'm happy that for all those kids that get on there, get them some love. And then, yeah, there's kids that didn't make it that maybe could have. But yeah, I mean, just congrats to everyone that made it so far.
I mean, I think you guys hit on all of it. Like, that to me, whether you make first, second, third team, it's like you made the All-State team. We clearly think you're an absolute stud because of exactly, P, what you're saying. Like, it's criminal, some of these guys that get left off the list. I was trying to pull it up here quick as you guys were talking. My computer is not cooperating with me right now, but like, the ridiculous stat lines that don't get All-State is hard to swallow. I mean, I know Willowbrook had a case for their arm to get on. I know Montini had a case for their arm to get on. The list goes on and on. Colin Schweigen didn't make the list. He hit 10 home runs. There's just like a ton of guys from around the state. That the other reason why I think it's so nice to have multiple publications that are putting out all state awards or all area awards, whether it's a newspaper publication or the IHSBCA. IHSBCA breaks it down by class. So 1A is going to get a ton of representation, 2A, 3A, 4A. It's not the same for our list. I love those, Southwest all area teams that they'll do, or Northwest, and like guys will get some love that it's pretty cutthroat to make our list. So, I mean, whether you make first team, second team, third team, to me, like, I don't even really put that much stock into all of that. You're an all state selection by us at Prep Baseball Report. And I mean, it holds a ton of weight for us. Like, I would love people to be in those conversations and how we go back and forth on players and how we try to get creative too with our positions and to get the right names on the list. So yeah, I'm not personally going to get too wrapped up in like first team, second team, third team. Man, if you make all state, you are an absolute stud. If you don't make all state, you're probably still an absolute stud if your coach is turning you in. I mean, the number of submissions that we had was through the roof, with guys and like guys that maybe don't have the power, but you look at some of the stolen base numbers and it's like, oh, how does this guy not get on the list? Or an on base percentage of, they're walking 40 times, they're striking out 4. Like, there are so many hard outliers to weigh on all this stuff. So we could probably talk for hours on the, complications and difficulty of, making these lists. But any of those coaches out there, that help with like the 4A, 3A, 2A, and these, they know how hard it is to make these lists and where to cut it off. And, the man in the arena, when you actually have to be the one, making the cut and looking at all the different names and seeing everything that's gotten sent into you, it's a tough job, but it's fun. Like, it's awesome. And to be able to honor these guys, and get their name on the list and put it out, it's a ton of work, but it's a ton of fun for us.
Yeah, and then I see we have a ton of information here about some guys that are transferring to new schools from Illinois, and then also some guys from Illinois making their MLB debut. Maybe they got traded. Like, there was some cool nuggets there that we got. Yes, I believe that was yesterday. So yeah, what do you guys got on this next set?
I can lead us off here. It's been really cool on my X account because I'll see, all these names from the past that are now finding new homes. The first one here, Kamari Thomas, going to Mizzou from Michigan State. I remember Kamari was part of the Future Games team my first summer when I interned here. And I want to say that team, you look back now, I think was pretty loaded because he was on it. I want to say that was the same year Brendan Tunnick was on it. You also had Jack Bauer was on that team as an underclassman as well. Like, that team, and maybe even like Enzo Infelice was on that team. I might be off a year there. He might have been on it as an underclassman, but regardless, happy for Kamari, find another spot. Baker Shellhammer out of St. Rita, committing to Lewis from Maryville. And Pete, before we hit the record button, you and me were talking about a few summers ago, we saw this kid raking down at a tournament in Rantoul. And now to kind of see it come a little full circle for you, he's now at your alma mater. I think is really cool for Baker, again, out of St. Rita. Cooper Malamasian, out of Nazareth, committing to Florida State. He transferred from Indiana. I think the cool little connection there is like, as of now, that's where Landon Tomey is committed to go play. Two prior Naz shortstops, potentially going to share the same field. Who knows what's going to happen with Landon in the draft in, a couple weeks here, but that's a cool nugget. Danny Sahaki, going to Eastern Carolina from NIU, and I might have just butchered his last name.
It's a tough one. It doesn't sound like the way it's spelled. It's like Chahaki or something. I've always pronounced it wrong, so sorry, Danny.
Yeah.
Because it's not the way you would think, from what I understand.
But that was one I saw. And then like Dylan Nagel going to Omaha. He was at Heartland Community College. Dylan was a guy, my first spring, he was pitching for Lockport that like I was very high on. He always performed in front of me. So to see him now going to a Division I program at Omaha, I think that's really cool. So
I'm curious, Tyler, just talking about Omaha, like that's Coach Rob Fournier just got the job over there. He was a longtime Wabash Valley head coach, turned that place into the power that it is now. Basically started that program, and the countless number of high level, prospects that he's had come out of that place, draft picks, D1. He then went to Western Kentucky, and was there for a couple of years. Now he's at Omaha. So we'll see. Like, clearly he's going after a JUCO guy right there in Dylan Nagel. I don't know how he'll kind of go about recruiting exactly, but always respected how hard he's worked. And getting back to your Kamari Thomas, like, I pulled up the future games list. Like, Jack Bauer was on that team, Ethan Eberle, Nate Harris, who was a weekend guy for Kentucky on the mound. Enzo Infelice was. Jimmy Janicki was on that team. Dayton Murphy, Jackson Natanic, our boy Kenny Perez, still a huge fan of Kenny. Brennan Tunick was, Luke Weber. There was a lot of really, really good names on there. So just calling that out as well.
I mean, that team was loaded. Like, shout out to you for, you, Pete. I'm sure there were others that helped assemble that team that year, but those are some.
Dayton Murphy.
Yeah, I mean, those are some legit names. Another guy from that intern summer that I just remember, he came to like a couple events and like he was always performing. And that's Sohrab Rezai, I think is how you say that last name. But he's going to Toledo now. He transferred from Bradley. Just a guy I remember that intern summer. He just always performed in front of us. A big one here, Quinn Shambo. Going to Illinois, coming back closer to home. He was at Oklahoma State last year. Really just kind of, selfishly love that fit for Quinn. Very curious to see how he does down in Champaign next spring. And then this last guy, Louis Sisto, committing to Southwestern Oklahoma State. Another St. Rita guy. He went to South Suburban out of high school. Another guy who I saw in the spring, his senior year, just always performed in front of me. So, kudos to Louis there, going to Southwestern Oklahoma State.
And I'm going to kind of go back a little bit to the all-state teams, talking about guys that don't make the list. I didn't have it pulled up when I was getting in there, but it is kind of cruel, the decisions we have to make. So the arguments from like first team, second team, third team to me are very like don't hold a lot of water when you think about actually having to cut the list of players that don't make the team. The two big arms for St. Rita who won state, Will Ruers and Soli Casey, did not make the list. Darren Klein didn't make the team. Darren Klein had a 1.105 ERA, and he walked 5 guys on the year. Grant Umbright, who was an absolute rock, like for Naperville Central on the mound and as a position guy, had a 2.03 ERA, struck out 71 in 48 innings, helped carry them to the state finals, did not make the team. Gavin Swartz, a potential draft pick out of Normal U-High, who was one of the best teams in the state all year, did not make the list. Jake Matisse at Mount Carmel, Connor Tenney at Mount Carmel, 2 of the top arms in the CCL Blue, did not make the team. Josh Jones, low 90s guy at Normal Community, did not make the team. Graydon Leonard down at Gibson City, Melvin Sibley. I want to pull up his stats because they were absurd. He had 101 strikeouts in 55 innings to a 1.782 ERA. Blake Hayer, I mentioned him earlier, had a 1.392 ERA with 97 strikeouts. Cooper Holman at Wilmington, 1.035 ERA, struck out 97. 79. Sorry, I was looking at Blake Hayers there. Callum Morrison, one of the huge reasons Lake Forest had such a good year, 1.44 ERA, struck out 77. Caleb Cox, Springfield Lutheran, has a chance to be a draft, 1.361 ERA, struck out 74 in 36 innings. Mason Rycheski had a 1.5 ERA for Kennedy High School. Like, it is crazy, some of these stats that come in. Talk about video game numbers, and I just was listing off pitchers there. You want to start talking about just guys across the list, position players. Carson Mole at Mascoutah, another Mascoutah guy that has a really, really strong case for making it. Lincoln Way West had a couple guys that didn't make the list that I thought were very deserving. Michael Pettit, Jackson Mansker He was one of those guys that like made an all-area team. Love that he's getting some recognition there, but I know he was an absolute stud for Lincoln Way West all season. He's going to UIndy to play football. You talk Drew Stevens at Normal Community gets left off the list. Quincy Fulton down at Newton. There were some other like just crazy good numbers. I'm just scrolling here. Carver Cone didn't make the list. And looking at his numbers, like he's a guy that kind of did it all across the field. He had 29 walks. He scored 53 runs for McHenry, who was a Power 25 team the entire year. Adam Kozak, Drew Satunis for Lockport, both had great years. So, I mean, I hope you guys... Cannon Baxley didn't make the list. That's a guy that's going to represent us at the future games. I'm looking at his sheet right now. He had 417 with 8 home runs, 34 RBIs, 36 runs, walked as much as he struck out, also pitched, and struck out 64 in 43 innings. Mason Breach at Geneva, Ryan Kettman at Wilmington. So long story short there, and sorry for kind of getting on a soapbox, but like it's absurd what these guys do at the high school level. And shout out to all of you guys, because I kind of wanted to give you a little shine here, and that's the reason I'm going through these names. Is like we could make an honorable mention list. The list would be 100 long, and then it's like, where do you cut off the honorable mention? But these guys deserve a shout out, and just awesome stuff and performances coming out of the spring. So I know I had some notes on here too, Tyler. I don't know if you need to maybe take a breath with all this talking here and listen off guys, but you got something?
Yeah, no, I can start at the bottom here. I know I threw some of these MLB notes in here. MLB Pipeline just released their new, I think they do like a preseason, a mid-season, and then an end of year top 100 list. So this would be their mid-season one. Couple Illinois products that are, making jumps. First one being Ryan Sloan. If you've listened to this podcast long enough, I mean, I feel like we always have a nugget on Ryan Sloan. The kid has just tore up minor league baseball. Out of York, he was a high school draft out of York. Since I've been doing this, probably the most polished arm I've ever seen out of high school. Just everything, the physique, the arsenal to me, it was kind of like, all right, this guy's ready for pro ball now. I want to say he was committed to Wake Forest out of high school. Regardless, he's now the number 9 overall prospect in all of baseball. And he's probably only 20 years old in the Mariners system. Drew, I see you're on mute. I don't know if you have anything on Ryan here.
No, I just think what's cool about that is, as you were going through the list, like a lot of the guys that are listed on this top 100 are already in the big leagues. Have maybe gotten a taste. So it's like he's even ranked ahead of some of these guys who have already in the big league, like a Noah Schultz, who we love as well. But like, shout out to Ryan. I mean, in high school, I thought it was pretty evident that guy had like big league stuff, like kind of presently as he was in high school. Maybe one of the most polished, dynamic arms I've seen. Like, probably up there with the Quinn Priesters, maybe a tick ahead of that. Noah Schultz was like probably just the most dynamic arm that's come through. But when you talk about stuff and polish and presence and knowing the game and like just being mature beyond his years, like Sloan was always that guy. So super pumped to see it carrying over to the next level. And it's kind of just like a waiting game now on when he's going to get his chance to. It's one thing to get called up. It's the other thing to like get called up and never have to go back down.
And stay there. Yeah.
Yes. So we'll see with Sloan.
Yeah, this next guy, Nate George, is now the number 61 overall prospect in all of baseball. He's in the Orioles system, a Manuka grad, that have been class of 24 or 25. I can't remember now.
24 at least.
Yeah.
It would not have been 25, I don't think. Let's see how the computer's working here. 24.
24. Yep. Yeah. So shout out to Nate. I mean, Drew, do you have his draft round by you?
I have his stat line pulled up that he put up in high school.
The thing with Nate is like he was not some first round draft pick, second round. I don't even think he was a third, fourth, fifth, sixth round draft
16th
pick. 16th round pick, and you're a top 100 prospect in all of baseball. I think that speaks to a lot of things, not only his talent, but definitely his work ethic. The fact that, you're a 16th round pick and now you're the number 61 prospect in all of baseball. Kind of shows what he's been doing in the minor leagues. So shout out to Nate. I think that's incredible. Did you want to rattle off this stat line
I mean,
you had in front
it's
of you?
absurd. You want to talk about like pro scout, like it takes tools to get to the level of some of these guys. Like you have to have tools. Now you have to have talent that goes along with it. And some guys that maybe don't have as high end tools, like they can play up their tools by how hard they play, the way they run the bases, living on the barrel, getting rid of it quick, like a David Eckstein, whatever it may be. But like, really, you need to have tools to be shooting for that like crazy high level draft, SEC ball, climbing up an organization. And like Nate George certainly had that. We had him ranked 5th in the 2024 class, which looking back on it probably was not high enough. But he was a 6.39 runner. He was 96 from the outfield, and he had a 104 exit velo. So talk about like speed power combo, guy that can play all over the outfield. And what I loved about Nate was he played super hard. Played super hard. So he checked so many boxes. He was also like a guy that just bet on himself constantly, I felt like. He was a JUCO commit out of high school. I think it was Northwest Florida State. And then, yeah, took a shot going in the draft, probably, lower round. I don't know what he signed for because that's also a big thing. It's like one thing to get drafted high or low, but it's like what do you sign for really tells the value, whether you're underslotted, overslotted, that sort of thing. But man, to see Nate do what he's doing in pro ball is really, really cool. And I want to say we were sitting at an event and it was like James Love or Jimmy Anderson, and we're in a rain delay. So we're just like shooting the breeze, killing some time in the dugout. And I'm going around like, hey, who's the best guy we don't know about? Or who's the guy that we're, too low on with our evaluation? And it was like to a man, like they were like, dude, Nate George, like he's a stud. So shout out to his Manuka teammates over there. And I guess it was Joliet West, but they played like summer ball together. And they were vouching for their guy, Nate George, talking him up way back then. And clearly we were too low on him. Like, it's not going to be the first time, won't be the last, whatever. But, yeah, good call out there on Nate. And then I like the last guy you have mentioned, too, because I don't think we've really talked about him much on this podcast.
We haven't, and it fired me up when I saw this tweet because it wasn't like you forget about him, but another high school draft. I want to say that would have also been class of 2024 there, Drew.
Let's see how we're working over here today.
But the name is Ethan Bagwell, right-handed arm out of Collinsville. Recently got promoted to high A with the Atlanta Braves. There's another Illinois product that's an arm in that Braves system, and Owen Murphy. But Ethan, in A ball this year had a 1.04 WHIP. And he had 69 strikeouts over 68 innings, leading to his promotion to high A Rome with Atlanta. But Drew, what do you got here? He was a class of 2024 grad, correct?
I mean, I've got this 2024 class, and it's absolutely loaded. I mentioned maybe we had Nate George too low, but it's like Ryan Sloan was number 1. Tyler Bell was number 2. Tyler Bell's a stud.
And he's probably going to be a first-round draft pick here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'll be curious, like, where he goes, what he signs for, all that, because that, really turns into a business at that point. But Brennan Tunick, number 3, who's, making waves in the Dodgers organization. Yeah. Jimmy Janicki, number 4, who was just the Sun Belt Player of the Year. He's at Team USA right now. Nate George comes in at number 5. Ethan Bagwell was number 9. But you've got guys like Sir Jamison Jones at number 12, who was a draft with the Nationals out of high school. Nate Harris, who's pitching on a weekend at Kentucky, he was number 13. I mean, you got Jude Warwick, who was 19th in that class, got drafted by the Tigers out of high school. So just a loaded class looking back. There's other names. Like Jimmy Anderson was 33, and Jimmy Anderson has turned himself into one of the top JUCO players in the country. So I shouted out James Love. He was ranked 37th and tearing it up at EIU. So that's what I got.
And I want to say that was the same draft that Illinois led the entire country in the amount of high school draft picks. I want to say the number was 9 that summer. if I can remember off the top of my
It
head.
was like
But
11.
yeah.
You could. I mean,
Okay.
Ethan Dorsey's was drafted in that
Dorsey's,
draft.
yeah.
Gary Grove.
So to say the least, that was a good year for baseball in the state of Illinois. That was a pretty good grad class. I'd say.
Ethan
I don't know
Everly's
if
in
that's
that mix
bold.
too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty nuts here looking at this. Jackson Smith, he was number 26th.
Had a
Went
big
to
year for
Bradley and then
UC.
ended up at Cincinnati. Yeah, like just
Yeah.
a really good player. So, yeah, good stuff there. But that 26th.
But yeah, shout out to Ethan Bagwell. That was a really cool nugget. I saw on my X account. But Drew, I know you've got a bunch of names on guys that probably predated me. So I'm gonna let you cook here.
Yeah, no, and we've gone a long time on this kind of opening segment, so I apologize. But like, just some cool stuff that's been coming across my desk is the White Sox just traded for Ben Hartle. Sam Antonacci has been kind of the story of the White Sox, at least there for a little while. Now you could say like Jacob Gonzalez, Braden Montgomery, Noah Schultz, Hagen Smith, like all these guys. But like the White Sox traded for Ben Hartle, who is a Springfield High School grad, 2021 grad, same grad class as Antonacci. Antonacci went to Sacred Heart Griffin. Ben Hartle went to Springfield. When Hartle was a senior, Springfield won state. It was like that weird post-COVID where they actually were playing at Schaumburg Boomers Stadium. And I just remember Hartle was like the most clutch guy ever. I remember him tripling down the right field line late in the game to either tie the game, take the lead. But like Antonacci was a future gamer the same year. They were boys. They both went to Heartland. Hartle goes to Kansas after Heartland. Antonacci goes to Coastal Carolina. Who knows where Hartle will kind of like fit in the minor league system and whatnot. But always too, like we loved Sam Antonacci just as a kid. Like he was very quiet and just went about his business and was Mr. Even Keel. You wouldn't know if the kid was 4 for 4 or 0 for 4. But Ben Hartle was another one of our favorites. Like just a great kid, played super hard. I remember as like a freshman or a sophomore, Sean Duncan was running the defense at like our preseason All-State. And like the one guy he came away with after that event was like, dude, I really like Ben Hartle. Just watching him do defense. So then to see what Hartle did, going future games, going to Kansas, getting drafted, all this stuff, and now with the White Sox is really, really cool. He was on that 2019 Future Games team with Antonacci. Another one for me, one of my first springs out back in 2000, it would have been the spring of 2016. I'm watching Collinsville, and I see this sophomore, Hayden Yanger, pitching for Collinsville as a sophomore, 83, 85, tons of strikes. He ends up going to O'Fallon later in his high school career, but Hayden Yanger ends up going to Missouri State, gets drafted by the Blue Jays. Matt Huck, shout out Matt Huck, Blue Jays area guy. Drafted him in the 6th round, I want to say, and just recently, May 31st, Yanger made his big league debut. So for any pro scout out there, that's a big deal when a draft pick, gets called up. So huge shout out there to Matt Huck. But Hayden Yanger was another one of my favorites, kind of like a pick to click guy for me early on that I came back to the office raving about. Tanner Andrews, 2014 grad out of Tippecanoe Valley in Indiana. Just a personal note, when I was at Purdue coaching, he was a freshman. Made his major league debut this year on May 25th, also for the Blue Jays. Now, he's bounced around different organizations and stuff like that, but really, really cool to see. I didn't know he had made his debut, and then like a week or two ago, I saw it pop up. So huge shout out to Tanner. He was just an absolutely great kid. Small town Indiana prospect that was raw when he got to Purdue and just continued to get better throughout his college career. Was throwing on Fridays for them his senior season. Brett Harris was just another guy that deserved a shout out. Like he was before my time here, but he's been in the big leagues now for about 3 years, back and forth, playing for some different organizations. He's a Hersey grad, played at Gonzaga. But just another guy that I knew he was an Illinois guy. I didn't know he had spent that much time in the big leagues. And then a recent one, Jack Brannigan. Marist grad, 2019, was on just probably one of the best Marist teams of all time. playing shortstop for them out of high school. His senior year, we've talked about it, like one of the most memorable games that I don't know if it was end of the year podcast we were on where we were all shouting out like one of our favorite games we'd ever been to. Well, mine was Marist versus Edwardsville, and it was his senior year in the super sectionals. Edwardsville ended up winning, but Brannigan was a stud for that team. He started pitching late in his high school career too. He was always a shortstop with big tools, could really run, had a strong arm, and got on the mound and was like 94, 95. There were talks about him getting drafted out of high school as an arm. He ends up going to Notre Dame, sticks as a position guy, gets drafted in the 3rd round, and just makes his debut here with the Pittsburgh Pirates. What was that? Maybe last week, 5 days ago, something like that. So just a lot of cool stuff happening here in MLB organizations. And there's more to come. Like I'm keeping my eye on Nathan Lavender, left-handed arm in the Mets system from El Paso Gridley. My guy Jack Mahoney from St. Viator is really, really throwing the ball well in Double-A with the Rockies. There's some other guys too, but that's enough of me talking here. Let's move on to the next segment.
Yeah, well, we can get into summer event standouts now. The first event up on the docket here is going to be Peoria. And I was down there at that event. We ran it over at the East Side Center over there in East Peoria, which is just a fantastic complex. We had some guys with us that were like, this facility wasn't that nice, not that long ago, a few years prior. Like all the fields there are turf, very well maintained, just a beautiful complex to run an event. But first standout I want to touch on here is Lucas Sloan, a two-way catcher, right-handed pitcher out of Olympia. He's a 2028 grad. The cool thing with Lucas is we've known him and seen his journey for a few years now. He was a junior future gamer for Pete. I want to say that was your team a few summers ago, but he's an athletic 6 foot, 180 pound two-way. On the mound, I'll start like it's pretty lively, like it's 85 to 87. Has some carry through the zone, and then his curveball, he also flashed the ability to spin that, and also like it had over 21 inches of horizontal movement. So that's certainly not a flat curveball by any means, or curveball with zero shape. Like 2 pitches on the mound, but we all really like him positionally as well, if not more. Right-handed hitter. I thought his BP was pretty loud and polished at times. Like he was working gap to gap, kind of just taking it wherever he was pitched, but he'd go gap to gap with authority as well. He peaked at 98 miles an hour off the bat. His furthest ball was hit 338 feet, but an 82% hard hit percentage. So 82% of the time he was hitting the ball 90 miles an hour or harder. I think that's really impressive. And then behind the plate, like thought the catch and throw just continues to tick up for Lucas. He's got some real arm strength back there, like peaking at 81 miles an hour behind the plate. Like that's legit arm strength. I want to say our top catcher in the 2026 class, Brandon Thompson, I want to say his firmest bullet we've seen is 84. So for Lucas to be reaching 81 from back there, I think's really impressive. Had pop time ranges in the 186 to 194 range, but a guy we've also seen has continued to produce in-game at tournaments across our company, which I think's even more encouraging to just put with the showcase performance. But that's Lucas Sloan. I thought he was maybe the biggest winner from the event as a whole. Another bat that I was really impressed with, and kudos to this kid for making the drive, but Gavin Price, a 2027 out of St. Charles East. So made a pretty good drive down to Peoria for this event. So kudos to him for even doing that in the first place. But right-handed hitter, he was all over the barrel. I thought the frame is also very impressive here. It's 6'5", 189 pounds, and there's definitely room to go there still. But averaged 93 off the bat. So basically everything he's hitting is hard. Topped out at 101 with a 383-foot max distance. Like that is some grown man strength, in my opinion, especially with that frame. Like it's 6'5", 189, and it's not a ton of strength, in my opinion, in that frame. Like he could still add more. But I was really impressed with that. BP round. An underclassman arm to just know moving forward is Alex Hurry, a right-handed arm out of Normal U High, 2030 grad. 6 foot 172, but the fastball was 81 to 84 miles an hour, which is pretty advanced for that age. And then the curveball, our guy Kobe Miller was on pitching that day, and he thought the curveball was, a real secondary pitch for him, had some depth. So it's not just, fastball only guy. He's got a curveball to go with it. Overall, just the event as a whole, and Gavin, I felt like it was this way last year when we ran the event at Dozer Park, but I felt like defensively it was a very strong crop of catchers. Like, I want to shout out all these guys. Like, when you go to an event, catchers got to catch pens and then also do their defense. Like, they do probably more than any other position there because they, like I said, they also got to catch pens. But I just want to shout out all these guys. Like, I thought defensively they all showed well for themselves. Crew Roberson, a 2029 out of Cambridge. Ashton Miner, 2027 out of Newman Central Catholic. He's a physical right-handed hitter who also swung it well. Josh Stewart, a 2028 out of Charleston. Gabe Drissy, 2028 out of IVC. Preston Jones, another 2028. He's out of East Peoria, so fresh. That was fresh off their state run. Hurley Bennett, a 2029 out of New Berlin, and then Adrian Ayala, a 2028 out of Dunlap. So I just want to give love to those catchers. In my opinion, that's a position that works the hardest in game. So want to shout out those guys. I thought they did a great job throughout the event.
Curious if Josh Stewart is any relation to Joseph Stewart, the arm that was at Mattoon. I don't know, Charleston, Mattoon being right next to each other. Maybe we're dealing with some cousins there or something.
Yeah. One guy I wanted to touch on, just from the video that I saw, was Cooper Wayant at 2027 at Metamora. He's uncommitted. You look at the frame and it's just long levered, wiry, moves really well on the mound. At this event, he was 82, 83, touched at 84. Looks like his breaking ball looks pretty good on video too. And then he also threw a changeup. But the reason I really wanted to touch on him is because I saw him in the spring for maybe a 1 or 2 inning relief appearance against Dunlap, and he came out of the pen in game, was up to 87, and was just throwing a ton of fastballs that were like had sink to it, to where he just came out there and really kind of lit up Dunlap's lineup. Like, they just could not touch him. It was a lot of swing and miss with the sinker basically, and I think he only utilized a fastball, maybe threw one curveball in the outing. But he's one of those guys now. We've seen him in game, we've seen it in a showcase setting, and he's an uncommitted 27 to keep an eye on.
And Gavin, there's actually one more guy I want to touch on from Peoria, another arm. But it's right-handed pitcher Sawyer Matthews, a 2029 out of Galesburg. And I've got a couple reasons I want to touch on this, but the first being, I just think there's a ton of upside with this kid. It's 6'2", 170. He's got a really young look to him still. Like, I don't think he's anywhere close to being what he will be physically in a few years. But very fluid operation on the mound. The velo is not going to, wow anyone right now, but that's okay. Like, he's got plenty of time to worry about velocity. The fact that he's a clean mover on the mound, to me, is really the first big box you got to check, especially with that body. But then with Galesburg, right? We've touched on them a couple times over the last couple weeks, but their 2029 class is starting to shape up to be, really intriguing moving forward. All those guys are now going to be sophomores, but Easton Pickrell's over there, a 2029. Braden Davis, is another 2029 who's, a real two-way that we both those guys were at the top tier scout day a few weeks ago that really impressed and continue to do it in front of us in tournament settings. So I just wanted to shout out Galesburg, really. Like, their 2029 class to me has got me intrigued moving forward. But I think that's going to wrap it up for Peoria. Hammett, you and me were over at South Suburban. What was that, last week? And I felt like this event, pound for pound, was just, there was a ton of good stuff all over the field. So I'm going to let you lead us off here. But what do you got with South Suburban?
Yeah, I totally agree. It seemed like it was one of the more talent-packed events from top to bottom that we've had in a while. Starting things off with a couple 2028s here. Riley Cook from New Trier. He's a two-way winner for us. I didn't see it on the mound. Kai Formella did, but had really great things to say about him. He's up to 91. spinning a slider and a changeup in there too. Really good mover. So stood out over there on the mound. And then as a position player, really looks the part at shortstop. He's fluid. He's got hands. He's got arm strength clearly. And then I thought the round of BP was really interesting as well. It's super clean swing with feel for the barrel, line drives, just an all around solid two-way showing. And he's one that we need to monitor really closely moving forward here. And then Tommy Gasner, a Huntley 2028 physical left-handed hitter, took one of the louder rounds of BP on the day. It's a big power profile. He's 6'1", 223, wide back, like wide shouldered frame. So there's more, strength to come there. Big power there. Pull side juice, especially. Just took one of the better rounds of the day and moves around first base well as well. Then some juniors here, rising seniors. We got Max Judge, just one of the more toolsy physical kids from the day. Really looks the part. Like physically strong presently, up to 100 for the EV. Pretty loud round. There's a lot of bat speed in there. Took defense both in the infield and outfield, showed well in both spots, and showed a strong arm from both spots as well, and turned in a 7-1 for the 60, so not bad there. Colton Campagna, Andrew 2027, one that I didn't personally know before going into the day, but I came away a fan. Just really like the way the swing works. It's super clean. It's athletic. It's flat. It's balanced. And he was up to 96 for the EV, and he's also a 701 runner. So, there's some tools to work with there. Jalen Webb, Homewood Flossmoor, another, twitchy athlete that I came away liking. He runs a 6'8". The swing, like I said, it's twitchy. There's some bat speed in there. 96 for the EV. Owen Sunderson, Hinsdale Central Jr., one that I saw in the spring. I got eyes on him, and I liked my in-game look, so it was good to get measurables on him at a showcase. But he's a 6'9" runner. Clean actions on the infield. Took a good round of BP up to 97. Clean swing, like the look. He was also a winner on the mound with a fastball into the mid-80s. So good two-way look there from Owen. And then my last guy before I just got like 5 guys I want to mention briefly, but Isaiah Martin, another outfielder that we've seen show well for us for some time now. He's an athlete, moves well in the outfield, twitchy right-handed swing with some, line drive approach, low 90s for the EV, but he's one that we've seen perform plenty of times in the past, so one to know there. And then, like I said, I got 5 guys here I just want to mention. Jack Mackey from Neuqua Valley, 2028. Bobby Delastovich from St. Lawrence, a freshman, came away liking him a lot. Nate Dempsey from Conant, 2028. Scott Gillen from Waubonsie Valley at 27. And then Jake Sellis, a Rita, St. Rita kid, 2027 there. So, like I said, top to bottom, one of the better offensive events that I've, seen of the summer for sure, and probably in recent memory, just like the depth that was there. So overall, a lot of names that colleges should check out, and check out the post-event content that we roll out with the quick hits and the tweets we've been rolling on Twitter, because there's some good names for sure.
Yeah, and there was another arm for the high school side of things that was one of the first guys to throw, a guy we've all become familiar with over the last couple of years, and that's right-handed pitcher Jonah Sloan, a 2028 out of St. Lawrence. And listen, St. Lawrence just lost a ton on the mound from that 2026 class. So to me, Jonah's a guy that is probably going to have every opportunity to earn some big-time innings for the Vikings next spring. But a guy I'm just really bullish on. Like, we tried to get him for super sophomores last summer. He's been a state gamer for us. We couldn't make it happen for super sophomores, but just a guy that, when I've seen it in game, whether, it's been at a tournament or whatever, like, I've always just liked the look on the mound. On this day, like, the fastball was 85 to 87, but above average spin, like, he was averaging over 2,400 RPM on the fastball. And then for me, it was just the immense feel to spin his slider, averaging over 2,700 RPM with nearly 24 inches of horizontal movement. So it's moving 2 feet, nearly 2 feet of movement. And he also threw it for 80% strikes. So it's not like just some pitch he has no idea where it's going, and it's, he's just spinning the crap out of it. Like, he's spinning the crap out of it for strikes as well. So I was really blown away kind of with his performance on the mound there. But Just some rising stars arms also want to touch on from that same event. Right-handed pitcher Angel Flores, another St. Lawrence product. He's a 2030. For me, it was just how quick the arm was for his age. I feel like you don't typically see that for guys that age, how quick the arm worked. I loved his changeup, and I kind of told him afterward, like, if you keep, working on that changeup and you continue to throw it with fastball arm speed like you do, that pitch is only going to get better. I love the confidence he had with it. A ton of tumble to the pitch. And then left-handed pitcher Zach Garecki, another 2030, this time out of Brother Rice. So two future CCL Blue arms there to keep an eye on for the next few years. But with Garecki, like, he was a good mover. Fastball was up to 81. Thought the curveball was his best secondary offering for sure. Would flash some depth, but seemed to have some feel for it. And then Pete, I know he showed well for you with the bat as well.
Yeah, it was just, he was the first one to go the day. I mean, he fit right in with the high school kids physically. Like, he was probably one of the bigger ones there for that event. It was really loud. He was up to 95, I want to say, for the EV. Just flashing easy juice off the barrel to the whole field, left-handed hitter. So just one to know. And Brother Rice, I mean, it's a good one that they're getting there, two-way guy.
Yeah, and then this last arm here is actually an Indiana product, but it's right-handed pitcher Eli Hayden. The high school's Morgan Township, but he's a 2031. So first off, kudos to him for coming over to, an Illinois event, being an Indiana kid. So he's got all of his stuff in his profile now. He's now, introduced to prep baseball events. Hopefully our guy Cooper Trinkle will get him out to some events as well. But I thought for me with Eli, it was like pretty advanced feel for that age, right? Like, he's now going to be an 8th grader. And just the way he moved and the way it just looked on the mound, it was like, all right, this guy's been pitching for a while, and like in a good way. But I just thought it was a quality mover on the mound. Like, he's a 2031. I don't even care about any of the velocity right now. It's how he moved, how the mannerisms were on the mound. To me, it's like, all right, that's a guy to watch for the next few years. So just some more rising stars arms I wanted to touch on. But Pete, we mentioned it at the top, had the big row this past weekend. The Illinois Open down in Rantoul was also loaded with talent. So I'm going to let you shine here with some tournament standouts from this past weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to go over some of my guys that I saw at the big row. So, like, if I don't mention you, it doesn't mean you didn't show well or you didn't, you're not a guy. Like, it's just my personal notes that I had in my phone that I was just got my eyes on. So one of the first ones was Camden Johnson from Lincoln Way East, a 2028. He's one that we've heard the name of. And it's just another young prospect that Lincoln Way East will have coming through. Like, their 27s and 28s are loaded. But he was literally playing catch at 87 and 90. Like, you watch the video, this dude is like zero effort. Like, the head's not moving at all. It's like barely striding. Like, it was super easy, up to 90. And then he learned his slider that day. So 74 to 76, throwing it for strikes. Didn't allow a hit or a run over 5 innings and struck out 10. So really impressive look there at Camden. Really high ceiling. He's not even scratching the surface of what I think he can be personally. Like, he's still got a lot to, develop with and just grow physically and all that. So one to watch there for sure. Mark Atwood from Loyola, a 2027. Strong look at him on the mound. He was up to 90 with over 2,500 RPM on the fastball. Low 70s breaking ball, kind of spinning in that same 2,500 range. The fastball had varying shape, and I'm not sure if he was really doing it on purpose because I didn't see a distinction in like the signaling, but he would cut it glove side, kind of sink it arm side. So whether he's doing it or not, like, it shows he can do that. And like, you could teach, all right, we want you to do this on purpose here and there. So interesting there. Like, he can pronate and supinate. So just intriguing stuff. And then he's also a physical bat that hit over 380 this past spring. And I know he was on the barrel a few times at the big row. So good two-way look there. Jace Koth, a Jacobs rising senior uncommitted, one of the top uncommitted players in the state for me. Like, love the bat to ball, love the athlete. That's the top of the order profile with bat to ball. He can spray it, he can run, just gets on base. And I love the mover and the athlete in the outfield. So one that I think colleges should know about for sure. Just a ball player. And then on that same team, I got a couple guys on that same team, actually. Landon Clements, McHenry 2027, Belmont commit. Just loved my look at him. Like, love the way the swing works, love the way the body works. Like, he's going to get a lot stronger, too. Like, he's super projectable. He was aggressive early in counts, like, wanted to hit. And I think he'll stick up the middle long term based on the actions and the arm that he showed. And then on the same team, Liam Schultz, a catcher from Burlington Central 2027. He was a name that was getting a little bit of buzz. Like, schools were liking him. I love the look in the box. It's hitterish, it's loose, and the catch and throw is strong as well behind the plate. Nate Larson, another one from the same team. Actually, I didn't realize I had another one. Nate Larson, got another strong look at him. Fastball worked mid-80s, topping around 85. Got some whiffs in there in the zone, and then showed his little bullet slider and a changeup to pair. So left-handed pitcher, can pitch, create some tough angles, and he's just one that I've liked the past couple weeks now, getting strong looks at him. A couple kids on the White Sox ace team, Mikey Watson, Homewood Flossmoor, UIC commit, rising senior. Just love the athlete. Like, he's a 6'4" runner, and he looks the part in everything he does. Like, he's a shortstop, twitchy, athletic with arm strength. He's got range, and the actions, they stand out. And it's a clean right-handed swing. Now, he didn't do anything in front of me personally in my brief looks, but I like the way the swing works. I think that kid, he's too good of an athlete to not be intrigued. But on the same team, Jazaris Mackmore, Marian Catholic, senior, UIC commit as well. He was one of the buzzier names there, just from like a draft follow perspective. Like, he was all over the barrel. Loud home run to center field. I want to say the second day of the tournament. Really looks the parts, an intriguing profile with a ton of projectability in the frame. Like, he's high-waisted. He's not filled out yet. He's a 6'7" runner. He's got big exit velocities, like been up to 106 in the past, and has showed us, sufficient arm with 85 from the outfield. So some tools to like there with him. One of my bigger winners from the event of guys that, like, I just didn't know anything about, Nick Baca from Riverside Brookfield. It's rising senior. Like, super physical, 6 foot, 200 pounds, wide back, really simple and strong swing with bat to ball and field to hit. Like, he was using the whole field, and he showed juice to the whole field. So he's one of the more intriguing bats. And it's a corner outfield profile, maybe first base profile, but one that I think, it's a Division I bat. Like, that's what it looks like. And I came away liking him a lot. Continuing to move down here, some sophomores, rising juniors. Haven Gamboa from Mount Carmel, a 2028. He's just a fun athlete to watch for me. Like, I love watching that kid play. He's got a motor. He works hard behind the plate. He can catch and throw. I saw him back pick or throw somebody out at second when I got my eyes on him. The arm was playing strong, and then the swing, is athletic. He'll continue to get stronger like he has. So one to watch there. Gaston Lopez from St. Patrick, 2028. One of my personal favorites from the weekend. Like, didn't know about him. Playing for Hitters Wisconsin. Josh Fields, our assistant director in Wisconsin, was kind of telling me about him. He's like, that kid, like, I've seen him a few times. He's kind of a stud. So I got my eyes on him. And, man, it looks right. He's 6'4". Love the look at the plate. Like, super loose and easy. Way more to come there, just to the overall game, too. And he's pretty versatile. Like, I saw him at third base. He can play shortstop. And they like him in the outfield, too. So, versatile athlete, Gaston Lopez, one to know for sure. Sonny Matea, Montini, 2028. Got a good look at him in Grand Park a couple weeks ago and then saw him again. 84, 86 with the fastball, spinning 2,500. It's definitely a little raw, but the upside and the mover and, like, the projectability to the frame is intriguing. Spinning, the fastball 2,500 with carry, the breaking ball is 2,500 as well. So just a ton of upside with Sonny. I think his best days are still ahead of him. And then another couple, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4 arms that I just got in a row here that are all, like, high ceiling guys. Robbie Seifert from Fremd, 2027. Got my eyes on him in the spring, and he was, pitching at 80, 82, could really pitch, was missing barrels, throwing it well. Well, now he's 82, 85 and spinning over 2,400 with a breaking ball over 2,600 and killing spin on a changeup. So, he can really pitch. the numbers are starting to tick up. Like, he's 85. I could see that being 86, 88 in a hurry. Like, I don't have the height and weight in front of me, but he's got a projectable frame. Like, he's a somewhat tall kid. The movement patterns are right. Like, he was throwing it really well. And those lefties that can pitch that, like, they're projectable and maybe they don't have the stuff there yet, but they get out. So, like, those kids are going to pop when they do start to get their stuff, and he's starting to get his, and it's really starting to show. Cycraft from DuQuoin, 2027. He was pitching 86, 89, topped at 90, showing a sharp slider. I didn't get my eyes on him personally, but I just know he was a winner for our staff. Drew, a couple left-handers here that we got our eyes on playing against each other. Sawyer Smith from Glenbard West, 2028. Like, super interesting. 6'5", left-handed pitcher, was pitching 82, 84 with sink. Kind of that lower clean slot, slider, changeup mix, like, could really, really pitch, and there's a ton of upside there with him.
Well, that was a fun nightcap because the other arm we were there kind of had been buzzing, like, just on socials. We've been seeing his name a bunch, was Mason Trazer from Oswego East. You mentioned Sawyer Smith being long-levered 6'5". Well, Mason Trazer's 6'6", and looks every bit of it standing on the mound. So he's another 2028 Oswego East. Oswego East is no stranger to having some high-level arms come out of there, especially when you start talking about Noah Schultz and plenty of others. But Tracer wasn't on varsity this spring, or at least we didn't see him on varsity. So wanted to get a look at him in person. Was super interesting. 82, 86, gradual breaking ball, but just ceiling for days. And then the first guy you mentioned here, Sawyer Smith, I was just as intrigued. The velo was a little bit lighter at 82, 84. But it is a loose mover that it's just a matter of time before that velo starts going way up. So going into that game, excited to watch Mason Trazer, a high ceiling left-hander. Like, we actually got two of them out of that, which was really, really awesome. Both, like, firmly supplanted themselves as must follows in the state in that sophomore class. Sawyer also, like, has just a really young look to him, which is what you're always looking for. Like, he's only going to fill out, I think, with the way his movement patterns are and the way, like, as he starts to sync up better too, because there were times where the arm's late coming through, whatever, like, as he just gets more and more feel for the body, a little bit more body control, like, that has a chance to really skyrocket in the near future. So what an awesome nightcap there. I think on the second day, it was on Friday. And then with that, throwing Mason Trazer was pitching, and he's throwing to Isaiah Walter. A 2028 catcher, probably were battery mates there at Oswego East. Walter's was a sophomore, another guy that, like, just a matter of time before he impacts varsity baseball. So glad we got to look at him. We actually saw 2 games of Walter. Really, really aggressive at the plate. Tries to get his A swing off a bunch. Saw him hammer a home run in the first game of the day, and then saw him pound a ball off the left field wall in that second game of the day. Really works hard behind the plate, tries to present pitches, and showed off a strong arm. Earned himself an invite to the future games, really, with the showing. He'd been a guy that's been high on our radar just from coming to showcases in the past, like, has the tools, checks a ton of boxes, but needed to see it in game, and showed really well for himself, I thought, just throughout the day on Friday. So that's kind of what I had on that game there, Pete. Couple of other just, like, really interesting players on that elite 2028 16U squad as well that I'm sure will make a name for themselves moving forward.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, we were kind of there to watch Walter and Trazer, right? And then, like, Sawyer walks out and we're like, who is that?
Yeah.
Like, geez, like, another 6'5", 6'6" lefty. So that was really fun. Gavin Jones, another name that I really liked throughout the weekend. I just got a few more here, but Gavin Jones, Bishop McNamara, 2028. Just love the way the swing works. Like, one of those smooth left-handed hitters with upside. Looks the part at shortstop. He's got actions. Love the leader and the vocal, like, qualities he has. Like, he's always in a good mood. He's always rooting for his guys, like keeping the energy going. So one that I would want on my team just as a kid. And he's a great player too. And then I also did not see this personally, but I saw the tweet, and he's one that we've liked a lot. Elliot Paul, saw he was up to 88 with some run and ride, and then showing, 2 breaking balls, a slider, and a curveball for strikes, sharp action, and a changeup. He's one that has just absolutely dominated, like it seems like, at all stops. Through 7 innings, just walked one earned run, and punched out 12, and he's been a consistent performer for that Evanston team for a few years now. So it's good to see the stuff start to tick up for him, because he's been a good mover, and the arm has worked. So not surprised there completely. And then Caden Wozniewski, my last guy that I want to mention, has just been, like, by all accounts, raking all summer. Like, we saw him hit a 3-run home run and then a grand slam, and I know he had multiple hits throughout the weekend, but just been really impressed with him. And I actually have one more here that it was hiding. Miles Mazanowski, Lane Tech of 2027, stood out to me. Just a physical right-handed hitter. Was in Cary this past weekend for the Team USA stuff. And then, I mean, he's a interesting prospect. Really looks the part. The swing works. He's got strength. I saw him barrel a baseball, pull side, and I know Coach Freeman over at Lane Tech likes him a lot as well. So, bunch of guys there. That was a mouthful, but we can continue rolling. I see we got a little section here, just guys that we saw across the board.
Yeah, I mean, Pete, that's good stuff. Some of this too is like crossover that we saw at the same time.
Sure.
Like Sonny Mateo is really interesting to me. Like, the sky's the limit for him. He should only continue to get better as he polishes his stuff, as the breaking ball starts to, take a step moving forward. But just the way the fastball comes out, like, I think he's going to throw really hard one day. But I mean, we've mentioned it in the past. Like, it's now turning into tournament season, and we're running tournaments all over the country. So getting tweets, or X posts that are tagging us all over the place, and it's to the point where it's hard to track everything. But some ones that really stood out that I think are worth mentioning here. Like, there's some high level guys that I'm going to throw out first, and then just a bunch of other really, really interesting stuff that I saw come across our desk over last week. But Traxton Roberts tore it up this spring. He's got some of the most dynamic stuff in the state. Getting on some, pro guys' radars. He was a future gamer last year. Armstrong, 2027. He's committed to Kentucky. Went down to Rantoul and was shoving down there at Rantoul. He was 92, 95 in the first. Settled in at 89, 92. Really spinning 2 different breaking balls with high spin, both of them flashing like 2,500 plus RPMs, and then showing a changeup at 80, 83 with heavy fade. 4-pitch mix. He gives me starter vibes. Just another consistent quality look at Traxton, and that's why he's a top 10 player for us in that class. Alongside him, Colin Doyle, another high-level prospect in that 2027 class. He's a Duke commit, Downers Grove North. I want to say he was over at Grand Park, pumping 90, 93, touched 94 2 times. Also held the velo. He throws kind of a shorter, harder slider at 80, 84 in the low 2000s. Also showed a changeup at 83, 84. Like, starter vibes all day, easy effort. He's an absolute monster on the mound. Just keeps doing it. Asher Prumer, fresh off a 2A state title for St. Joseph Ogden. He's a Kaskaskia commit. He came out to Rantoul. What a gift for Kaskaskia. I mean, he can flat pitch. He's got moxie. He was 86, 88 with life, throwing a good breaking ball at 73, 75, getting a ton of swing and miss with 27 to 2,800 RPM. He was a first-team All-Stater for us. Absolutely dominated all spring long. Continues to do it this summer. J.D. Farkas showed well over in Indiana. 2-way, left. He's a Hersey 2028 grad. A guy we've really, really liked. He's really polished all over the place. He was 83, 86, touching 87 on the mound. Slider 68, 71 with feel, also showing a changeup. Another guy with starter profile on the mound. Also doubled in that game. And he's just a flat gamer in general. And then I saw 2 tweets, same team at Wow Factor. coming out of Indiana. Cash Van Houten, Keaton Ariano. Cash is a 2027 at Canton, committed to Illinois. Keaton Ariano is set to represent Team Illinois-Wisconsin at the Senior Future Game. He's a left-handed hitter from Geneseo. Looked like two really good swings there that they posted on those guys. Another guy set to represent Team Illinois-Wisconsin is Julio Ayala, Montini Catholic. Showed well for us multiple times this spring. He's a left-handed hitting infielder that can play all over the infield. Was showing advanced actions at shortstop for us, so I'm really excited to have him. But he was on the barrel a bunch. Got it tweeted out multiple times. 29, Maddox Carson. He just keeps doing it. He's at Geneva. I love the way, like, the operation of the swing, just loose and fluid and in the zone a long time and balanced, and just has all kinds of hitterish vibes coming out of him. I am very bullish on Maddox Carson. He's an athletic frame, too, that I think is only going to get stronger and get more impact in the bat. He can catch, play the infield. I just very, very in on Maddox Carson, the baseball player. Another guy that had a really, intriguing spring was Brett Alkire, Dunlap, 5'11", 155. Looks like he absolutely tore it up in Indiana. He struck out 13 in a complete game shutout. He was 85-88, touching 89, getting some cut and ride on the fastball. Slider 77-79, 2,400 with the RPM. Also showing a changeup. Was 88 on his last pitch. So really, really good stuff there coming out of Brett Alkire. Carter Brady, I think he was down in Kansas City. He's a guy that we've loved the movement patterns on. He's a two-way guy for Effingham. He was another guy that we were looking at for All-State just because the numbers from the spring were really, really good. 83-86, 74-77 on the slider, 76-78 on the changeup. Potential starter there on the mound, but he also had a pair of hits, at the plate. He's a left-handed hitter, left-handed pitcher, plays the outfield when he's not on the mound, kind of a do-it-all guy for Effingham. And then at Rantoul, I mentioned Traxton Roberts, Asher Prumer. There were some other good performances. Ryan Pipkins, Champaign Central, 2028. He's a left-handed hitter, plays the outfield, also pitches. Had unbelievable numbers for Champaign Central this spring. Tore it up, made our All-State. He raked all weekend at Rantoul. Left the yard, hit a triple, just multiple extra base hits. He earned himself an invite for Team Illinois at the future games. Excited to have Ryan with us on that team. Russell Applegate, he's a 2027 at Charleston. Left-handed hitter, also pitches. Tore it up. He was one of the first names our guys were talking about coming out of Rantoul. He's uncommitted, 86-87 with the fastball, curveball 67-71. Another guy that's in that 23-2400 range with the RPM on the breaking ball. Carter Lippens, another Dunlap arm, was a top performer for Dunlap. 2027, uncommitted. Got the start on the mound, tossed a complete game while striking out 4, 84-87 with the fastball, 75-77 with the slider, 2,400, 2,500 RPM. Go-to breaking ball is kind of his repertoire there, but just fills up the zone. Just another guy that consistently getting quality looks at, and that's what it's all about. Ultra consistent, same guy every time. A guy for me that is double thumbs up, trend in the right direction, is outfielder Kyle LaRose at St. Charles East. Tyler talked about another 2027 from St. Charles East earlier that came to the Peoria Summer ID showing well. You already talk about Dylan McCabe has been a guy on our radar from 2027s at St. Charles East. Kyle LaRose needs to be firmly on everybody's radar. Check out the X posts on him. He got tweeted out twice at least from Kansas City. And the first one is him just hitting an absolute bomb to center field. It was 103 off the bat. Had multiple extra base hits in the game. And actually, I'm getting some of these tweets kind of mixed up. One of the games he went 4 for 4 with 2 doubles and a triple. That was the second tweet. The first tweet I saw was an absolute bomb home run, no doubter. He's taking multiple, really impressive ace swings with all kinds of bat speed, all kinds of looseness and whip in the swing as well. And like the frame, really athletic. Like he's a guy that if we weren't so maxed out on the outfield for Team Illinois, Wisconsin in the senior future games, I would be pushing hard for him. But he's a guy that like needs to get to the Illinois State games. Coaches need to see this guy. It really, really looks right. I know he hit at the top of the order all spring for St. Charles East as well. I'm way in on that, like way in on the video. So please take a look if you're a coach out there looking for a left-handed hitter outfielder in that 2027 class. Like I think he needs to be towards the top of the list. Another guy that got tweeted out from Kansas City, right-handed pitcher Aiden Gonzalez at Bremen 2027, was 86-89 through a complete game and was filling up the zone with a fastball heavy mix, getting a ton of weak contact. 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, was throwing a breaking ball at 77, 79. So there's other stuff that's getting posted as well. These are just some things that really stood out to me over the weekend. And just huge shout out to all of our staff across the country, seeing all these guys, getting quality video on these guys, tagging us so that if an Illinois team is playing at Lake Point, Grand Park, Creekside, we're getting it. And we're doing our best to take in all this information and, let it impact our invite only events, whether it's future games, senior future games, super sophomore games. But most importantly, like Illinois State games, like let's load that thing up. It's only been trending in the right direction with the number of teams, the number of talent, and I expect it to be the best year yet this year. So any college coaches out there, man, make sure you have that on your radar. It's Monday and Tuesday, early July, August 3rd and 4th this year, coming right off the future games, right off the super sophomore games, right into the Illinois State games. We won't be busy at all, hopefully, hence the sarcasm there. But it'll be a great stretch for us, and then we'll have the Wisconsin State games parlaying right off of that. So coaches, make sure you know future games is coming. One of the last weekends there in July. Senior future games will be July 21st, 22nd, and then we'll have the future games 23rd, 24th, 25th. And it's actually future games. The workout day will be on that 22nd as well. So a lot of good stuff coming up in the next month here, month plus. But man, we are seeing some good stuff across the board. Hopefully you can tell by how many guys we had to talk about. And Pete, like you kind of mentioned, we're missing plenty of guys too.
All right, that'll wrap up episode 77 of The Bullpen. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Apple and Spotify podcasts, and rate us on Spotify and Apple podcasts.